Never trying to come take nobody's shit. I'm in my own. I'm in my own world, B.
People woke up buzzing because something unexpected shook the whole scene last night, and it all started the moment Max B stepped back into the spotlight like he never left. The energy in that room flipped the second he pulled up. For anyone who wasn't around back in that era, the song he flipped came from that whole wave he used to run, taking big beats and remixing them with his own style. That was his signature move back then, and his old fans know exactly what that energy feels like. But this time, he went after the Pop Champagne beat from Jim Jones and Ron Browse and flipped it into a rough Grand Crew-themed remix that had the crowd jumping. He wasn't talking champagne. He was keeping it gritty, mentioning simple Grand Cru and Henny like he was right back in his old zone.
I think two egos was just coming together, two big personalities. You know, I wasn't there for that. I was just happy to be involved, you know what I'm saying, just in the game.
But the line that froze the room was the same one people used to whisper about on those old DVDs when he said, "Now these bird gang bees, they can't stand me. Jimmy mad because Chrissy touched it out in Miami." The crowd reacted like they had been waiting years to hear that line again. Out of all the joints he's known for, out of all the classics he could have touched, whoever picked that one must have been moving wild because that wasn't a natural choice at all. Folks in the crowd looked confused like, why this one right now? Straight up, the second that record came on, the vibe felt off. I was watching everything unfold thinking, this does not feel planned or intentional. That's why earlier I kept wondering who cooked up that playlist in the first place and who actually approved it. Was it the DJ making his own calls, or did someone hand over a list that didn't come from Max B at all? But now Max B is stepping in saying that's not how it went down, and he's pointing straight at Funk Flex as the person who threw that track into the mix without warning. And let's be real, if Flex really pressed play on that record, that was no mistake or random slip-up.
I'm just saying what's up. Embracing the nigga. I'm like, I ain't know what was going on. I ain't even know the words to this.
That man is a veteran, and he knows exactly what kind of ripple a moment like that creates. Flex moves with intention every time he touches anything connected to a storyline. Everybody remembers how heavy Max B pushed that narrative back then and how wild things got between him and Jim Jones. And with Jim and Chrissy still together and stronger than ever today, hearing that line again hit the blogs like a fresh wound. So once that clip started circulating, the drama basically restarted itself in real time. But here's where everything took a turn. Max B got on the phone later that night trying to clear things up, and people who were on that call passed the audio around until it finally started circulating everywhere. The message being pushed was that Max wasn't actually aiming at Jim Jones during that performance. The track got played out of nowhere with no warning while he was already on stage.
Back, you know what I'm saying? And shit's like everything. That shit don't mix well, and next thing you know shit, we beefing. So as far as the content or whatever, it should have went a different way. You know what I'm saying? I think today we would have handled the situation different. But we was young. Right. We was all.
According to folks close enough to hear what he was saying, Max B had to react in the moment and keep the crowd hyped because the energy was already high. But even with that explanation floating around, the situation is still messy because the way that clip hit the internet makes it look like he brought the line back on purpose. And once people saw that moment, they started running their own theories instantly. The whole thing last night had people scratching their heads because that track was the last thing anybody expected to hear at a Max B show. Folks weren't just excited, they were locked in, waiting to see what he was about to do next. His return already had people talking, but nobody expected the night to twist the way it did once he hit that stage. He's been outside nonstop, stacking shows and making appearances like he's been on go mode his whole life. And once he started running through those classics, everybody online woke up shocked because one moment from the night took things from hype to straight chaos. Max B performed a certain record, and he didn't just perform it, he let some lines fly at Chrissy and Jim Jones that had everybody reacting instantly. He wasn't aiming at Jim Jones's family, especially since Jim has adult responsibilities and a whole household of his own, and Max knows that bringing family into anything is a line you don't play with. These guys are pushing 50, and people still act like they're supposed to run the same beef from back in the day just to entertain old fans who want 2009 all over again. Some folks love saying it's just music, but when someone thinks their partner got disrespected, that's not just a bar anymore. That's personal, and anybody grown knows that. Yeah, Jim Jones said what he said about Max B before he came home, and yeah, Jim made it clear he wasn't dealing with him back then, but that doesn't automatically mean Max is trying to shame his family now just to keep old tension alive. But here's where everything took a turn this morning when that clip kept traveling around. Suddenly, a whole new wave of voices jumped into the conversation with their own ideas about what Max was doing. Some people began saying Max only tried to cool everything down because he knows the industry is locked in on every move he makes right now, and he's trying to keep things clean so he doesn't disrupt the momentum he's finally building again. And honestly, that theory isn't crazy at all because Max B just came home. He's booking shows back to back, and he's focused on staying active, not getting dragged back into an old Harlem storyline that should have stayed in the past. He's trying to move forward, not end up stuck entertaining drama that doesn't serve him anymore. But the internet loves a messy twist, and the moment that clip spread, folks started turning the story into something bigger than it was meant to be. Suddenly, people were running around repeating dramatic takes, throwing out things like Josh say he is in trouble, even though nobody actually knew what was going on behind the scenes. The way certain blogs kept spinning the situation made it look like a brand new battle was brewing, even though nothing was confirmed from either side. They were posting clips, twisting the story, and acting like Max B just declared some official music war, even though he already said he wasn't aiming anything at Jim Jones or Chrissy. But once the noise started spreading, one thing became clear. Everybody is sitting around waiting for Jim to break his silence because the moment he does, the whole conversation is going to shift instantly. People know Jim Jones doesn't talk just to talk. His words hit different because he chooses his timing carefully. It doesn't matter if he responds calmly or steps forward in a more direct tone. Either way, the culture is ready to analyze every syllable he says. Folks are already debating what kind of energy he might come with, even though he hasn't given one hint of how he feels yet. What makes this even more interesting is the fact that Jim already got asked about the situation right before Max B came home, and even back then, he didn't want to speak on it. He dodged the topic completely, not because he was scared or hiding anything, he just didn't want to feed into old tension when he had moved on with his own life. That's why when this new clip hit the internet, a lot of people felt like they finally got the moment they had been waiting on for years. They were hoping Jim would jump back into the storyline and bring the old drama back to life. Some fans love history repeating itself because they want entertainment more than truth, and this moment gave them something to latch onto again. But when you step back and look at everything from the outside, it doesn't even have to play out the way the internet wants it to. Both men are older, both men have built real lives, real responsibilities, and real goals, so dragging a decade-old conflict into a new chapter doesn't actually benefit anybody. And once families get mentioned, that's when things can get real quickly because people protect their households at all costs. That's exactly why Max B made sure to say he wasn't trying to cross any boundaries, and he knows how serious that line is, and he knows you don't play with another man's household, especially not at this stage in life. You could hear the respect in his voice when he said it, and that tells you he wasn't trying to escalate anything. On top of that, people behind the scenes who really know these two kept saying the same thing over and over. This doesn't have to turn into a whole situation unless somebody chooses that path on purpose. They've seen both men grow, they've watched both of them move their lives forward, and they don't want old tension turning into something bigger just because a clip went viral. He loves the hype, he loves the noise, and he definitely knows how to set off a chain reaction that gets everybody talking. That whole setup felt like someone trying to inject drama into the night on purpose, like they wanted something messy to explode in the room just so people would replay the clip over and over online. Nobody who truly knows Max B's catalog would casually pull that joint from the pile, not for a big return moment like this. It's not a go-to classic, it's not a fan favorite, and it's definitely not something you throw randomly into a set list unless you want the crowd buzzing over old drama. If someone pressed play on that one specific track, they knew exactly what they were stirring up. And trust me, if Flex is the one behind it, he's already gearing up to flip this whole situation into another headline. That man knows how to take a spark and turn it into a full-blown wildfire for everybody to talk about. I can already imagine him lining up his next moment, hitting that mic, dropping those dramatic sound effects, and acting like he's just clearing the air, even though he knows he's keeping the fire going. If you really pay attention to that phone call, you can hear someone in the middle trying to shut the tension down, sounding like he's stepping between everybody just to keep the night from turning into something wild. He kept saying things like, "Bro, relax, we good, nobody's doing all that tonight." You could tell he was reminding them that everyone in that room had families to go home to, and that Harlem doesn't need another unnecessary situation blowing up again. Max B even jumps in and makes it clear he's not trying to cross any lines or disrespect anybody's partner, and he said that straight up without hesitation. Even with Max saying loud and clear that he wasn't trying to disrespect anybody, some people kept acting like this was the moment that revived the whole beef all over again. The way certain blogs spun it, you would think Max walked on stage and pointed straight at Jim Jones on purpose, even though that's not what happened at all. Meanwhile, Jim hasn't said a single word yet, and that silence is making the whole situation feel even more mysterious. People are already asking, is Jim brushing it off, waiting for the right moment to talk, or letting Funk Flex stir the waves first before he steps in? Nobody really knows, but the fan bases are already forming teams, like this is some new Harlem showdown ready to pop off. And the crazy part is the second Jim opens his mouth, even if it's just one sentence, the whole internet is about to go wild because everybody knows his words carry impact. But here's where things get even more complicated behind the scenes. Folks who actually know both sides keep saying the tension runs way deeper than what the public ever sees. Some people started whispering that old business between them was never fully closed, and that's why even a small spark turns into a major wave instantly. Even when Max B says he's not disrespecting Jim or Chrissy, the history surrounding their names is so heavy that anything tied to that storyline sends the whole culture into a frenzy. At the same time, the people inside the industry, the ones who have real relationships with both men, were moving fast to calm everything down before it spiraled again. Some were making calls saying things like, "Bro, we're not dragging this back up. Let that man shine. Let everybody keep building." They know Max B is working on rebuilding his life, and Jim Jones has been leveling up for years with interviews, business plays, and shows stacked up. Nobody who cares about them wants to see two Harlem legends let a simple moment turn into a full-blown situation that overshadows everything they've been working toward. But the internet has no interest in peace. The internet wants chaos, conflict, and a storyline to run with, no matter what the truth actually is. So once that clip of Max B went viral, people started creating their own versions of the story instantly. Suddenly, folks were acting like Max walked onto that stage with some kind of plan to start trouble, even though he literally said he wasn't going after anybody's family and wasn't trying to drag up old wounds.